Every week we take a look at some older video games that you might have some memories of. Today we're going to be looking at a 3D platformer that was released in the late 90s. This is Jersey Devil, a story-based 3D platformer for the PlayStation, released in December 1997 in Europe, June of 98 in North America, and it was also released in 1999 on PC. Developed by Megatoon Studios, who later became Behaviour Interactive, and published by different publishers based on the region. Ocean Software in Europe, Sony Computer Entertainment in America. There was also a Japanese version of this game translated as The Great Adventure of the Jersey Devil. This was released in June of 1999. Incidentally, there is a couple of differences between the three regional releases. The PAL version has a static title screen, while the NTSC version has scrolling backgrounds, updated logos and redesigned collectibles. The Japanese version also adds more cutscenes and tutorials compared to the PAL version. Jersey Devil is a single player game that sees Dr. Narf, a scientist, have a bit of a lab accident while doing a procedure on a baby Jersey Devil. His now mutant vegetable army are terrorising the city, and you play as the grown-up Jersey Devil to ultimately try and stop Dr. Narf and his plans. You do this by platforming your way through the levels, collecting all of the letters of his name in order to make progress. Doing this will unlock doors and other worlds. There's plenty of other pickups as well, such as pumpkins, devil tails, TNT and nitro boxes. These can be found all over the play space by smashing crates, defeating enemies and even opening doors. The pickups can restore your health, grant you extra lives, or even help when you're facing enemies, because it's not all about platforming, there's combat elements too. Enemies, especially in some of the earlier levels, can sprout out the ground seemingly at random, and when you're facing off against the vegetable army, you can use punches or even your tail whip attack. Graphically, the game has a big Halloween and gothic vibe, but I will say this, the graphics are relatively decent for its time, these being more cartoon based rather than realistic. Could they be better to modern day standards? Of course, but levels are varied and they don't contain pop-in, so you do see quite a bit of the environment as you're playing through it. The in-game models do show their age, but the overall look and art style sort of hides this, so they can kind of get away with it. Controls are typical for games around this time. They're clunky and they do take a little bit of getting used to. The camera can sometimes be all over the place. It does follow your character, but it can end up at really awkward angles and you have to manually adjust it. Another one of the game's frustrations is in the jumping elements. If you're trying to grab something or even land on a certain area, such as a building ledge or even a box, you have to be pretty much pixel perfect to stick the landing. Another thing you can do as the Jersey Devil is glide while you're in the air. It does feel like gliding can sometimes take a little bit longer than maybe it should, as it has more of a floaty feel rather than a falling feel, if that makes sense. For example, it can take quite a bit of time for you to reach the ground if you're gliding from a height. Video game aggregator Game Rankings gave this a 59%, with the game receiving generally mixed reviews. A lot of critics focused on the game's camera and graphics, but did praise its orchestral score and atmospheric sounds. Here's what I think. For me, it's okay. If it was ever to be remastered, we'd definitely see better graphics and probably more fluid controls. I will say though, if you do like platformers from this era, it's definitely one game that you should try if you haven't already. It does have its flaws, but once you see past them, you've got an okay but short game. So that was a look at Jersey Devil. Do you have any memories of it? And if you do, I'd like to know about them. Let's discuss them in the comments below. And if you do like looking back at older video games from the past, remember there's one dropping each week.